We started with 8 teams, and now we're down to 2 here at the OGA Dota Pit Minor. $300,000, a spot at MDL Paris. Let's take a look at the recap to see how these teams got here.
I did like the fact that we had a group stage where every single day you got to watch every team play. I thought that was very cool because a lot of times we'll have a group stage where you kind of watch a full group play out and then the next day you have all these memories of yesterday but suddenly they're completely useless. Like some of the hero picks and stuff stay with you because then you watch the next day's games and you're like, oh yeah, well, you know, Forward was picking this yesterday but then you don't see Forward all day kind of deal. So I kind of like that we had such an extended group stage even if that meant we had to shorten the playoffs a little bit.
I think it's fair for all teams. Like, I know people are bashing the tournament format, but at the same time you get a group stage that's basically scrims, right? You're scrimming each other, that's all, because it doesn't matter. You're not getting out after the group stages. And then it's not so fair for the teams because you lose one best of one and you're out. Yeah. So that is complicated. However, it is complicated for the teams, but for us viewers and analysts and panelists, it's so much fun.
Honestly, I didn't mind too much. It meant no matter what, we're going to get more games. We get to see more teams play against more people. And while the games may feel more like they don't feel as important, you still get more games of Dota.
Felt like at this event maybe teams were experimenting more in the groups, which you could definitely view as a positive. We saw some games that were maybe a little bit throwy at times, but at the same token we got to see a lot of heroes. We got to see teams try different things, and that set us up for a really intense bracket. It would be nice to see the group stage just carry perhaps a little bit more weight. But overall, I don't have a huge problem with this format. I would prefer tournaments try something different than just everybody doing the same thing.
My top 3 teams were NiP, RNG, and I had Forward and Gambit kind of tied for 3rd.
I thought Group A looked perhaps a little bit more competitive. I was really confident in Gambit coming into this tournament. CIS qualifier, they absolutely dominated. We did our little caster pre-predictions. I totally called Gambit as #1 for the whole tournament, and they were maybe the most disappointing team for the whole tournament.
Hero-wise, I definitely think some teams were just not picking heroes. Maybe they had like in the back of their bag, they didn't want to show. But I don't think teams are ever gonna like not play to win, right? Even if you pick 5 of the worst heroes in Dota, you're still gonna play to win.
I think they were using it kind of as a playground in a sense to see everyone who was around, see what their strats were, who's putting out everything all at once, and then, you know, adjusting appropriately. Maybe trying out some new strats too.
RNG going into the group stage, I think, was probably the 2nd favorite behind NiP, and they ended up going 3-0. They beat Gambit, NiP, as well as Boom ID, who were all 3 pretty good teams, right? I mean, that was the group of death, and they ended up just winning it out, straight up 3-0, but the problem was the group stage, you know, isn't always the end-all be-all. And then RNG into the playoff bracket, they go against Forward, and I'm sure if you ask any of their players, even Monet, like, hey, who do you want to go against? They're probably going to say an NA team, and they got to go against Forward, and man, did they not look very good. They had a brief struggle and got 2-0'd by Forward, and they moved into the losers bracket. They got to play 1 best of 1, and unfortunately, all it takes is 3 games to be eliminated from this tournament. You got to show up to all the games, not just the group stage.
They started this year off on a really high note. They just got their new captain. It was FNG who left Team Spirits, joined them, and instantly that team started doing well. They got 2 second places on a minor and on 1 more tournament, which was amazing for them. Even though they wanted to be first, they were tweeting about it on Russian like crazy, like, we're gonna get it next time. And I believe FNG tweeted as well, like, is this the tournament that we finally get that first place? It seems like it won't be. and it seems like they have some issues. I don't know if it's the current patch, I don't know what's happening to them, but in the latest couple of tournaments and qualifiers as well, they fell short. They didn't qualify for ESL Birmingham too, so there's something missing. And one of the Russian talents, analyst NS, he wrote to them that they just need a coach. They need someone behind that, a big figure of FNG, to just solidify their drafts, and I think after that perhaps they can go back to their glory.
Team Forward, I had them around my top 3 coming into this tournament. They're a team that they are working with a stand-in currently with CC&C playing for Resolution, who's on a break, and you're hard-pressed not to say Resolution's the best player on that team. He's someone who's had a lot of star power for the past couple of years, but they seem to have had some struggles in terms of getting the results that you'd expect from the roster. So with CC&C performing so well twice now for EG when he stood in, I do like the fact that they're bringing him in if there was anyone who's going to replace Resolution. And they've also mixed up a few other things, right? They've now brought back snaking, MSS is on the 4, you've got Kitrack now on the 5, and then you are kind of that position 1 is trying to be some stability there with Terrorblade, but they didn't make it to top 3. They found themselves down in that lower bracket. They made the second round of it, but still knocked out earlier than I would have expected, and I would say probably some pretty disappointing results for the team overall.
Boom ID has really impressed me this tournament. Southeast Asia is a region that hasn't always had the most roster stability, and I love that this team has held together for so long. We've got to see them across multiple tournaments, different lands, and they really have been improving. The meme their way has been they're really good in the lanes, they're pretty good in the mid game, and once we get to that late game, that's where the decision making seems to break down a little bit. And even just throughout this tournament, I think that's really improved. They've extended that window in which they look good, and they've made this run through the lower bracket that I think they should be really proud of.
So I'm not going to lie, coming into this, I was a little nervous. I'm a very big South American Dota fan. That's my region. They're close to my heart. But the thing that was worrying me is that I was seeing some of their games that they were playing beforehand, and they weren't looking so good. But I actually got a chance to talk with Joaquin, who's actually their manager, and she was saying they were running into some technical issues and some language barriers, because they do have Donal, who is Brazilian and doesn't speak as, I'm not sure how good his Spanish is, but I know there were some issues with that. One of their other players wasn't playing in his actual setup. He was playing at a friend's house, so that seems to be why they were a bit rocky. They seem to be getting along much better now, and we're seeing some really nice results, especially if they can get the comfort heroes that they want. But they've definitely been like a pleasant surprise to see them running through this tournament, and it's really great because a lot of these guys in South America, they don't get the chance to play at an international level. The ping's really bad, the internet connection's not great. None of the teams want to scrim on a Brazilian or Peruvian server, so even when they do get scrims, they're playing on North America, which gives them terrible ping. So it's really kind of great to see them get the chance to shine. You know, I'm really sad they actually knocked out Boom ID, who was another team that was very close to my heart, because those guys are awesome, and I really want to see more of them in the future. But I'm super excited to see them going further, and you know, South America, people kind of give them a bad rap a lot of the time, so it's nice to see, especially because these guys are very, very respectful.
Alliance looked great in the groups. They won Group B, and they made their way all the way through the upper bracket, but Alliance has stepped up this tournament. You know, there wasn't really a moment when they didn't look good. Maybe they struggled to close out games, but they've won the games, and at the end of the day, the win is really what matters.
In terms of coming to this tournament for EHOME, they were not a team that I was really expecting to do very well. They're a team that, although they've played in previous minors, that roster has almost completely disintegrated. At this point, they're working with one of their players has the coach due to an injury. The coach is currently playing on the team, and you've basically had a revolving door of players coming in and out, joining TI winner Y, which is exciting because he's formerly from Wings, but how much can you really expect, even if they are bringing in some pretty big names? I really didn't think they'd do very well. So when they started out in the lower bracket of the playoffs into these best of ones, I really thought that'd be the end of their road, but they have surprised. I think Xingqiu, coming from Team Serenity, has looked fantastic. He's helping carrying them very far through this tournament. And honestly, I've been surprised too. Like I'm willing to easily hate on some of these old players like Zhao 8 or Ferrari, but they're playing well. I have to respect the fact that even if there's some older guys, they're coming into these new kid minors and playing very well. So I'm excited to see how far they get.
NiP, they started the winner's bracket going against Majestic, which if you ask PPD, every time he'll say, I would love to play South America. They pretty much just ran over them 2-0 super hard, and it was like you going from the group stage to this bracket, and all of a sudden NiP just looks like they are the best team in the tournament, and then they get to go up against a North American team, which Peter knows extremely well again in Forward Gaming, and guess what? Another 2-0 quick 30-minute games, and NiP, honestly, from that group stage to the playoff bracket, they look like a whole new team, and the team everyone expected them to be.